A few years ago, I visited the RFEF headquarters in Madrid, Spain, just a few months before Spain's Euro 2024 victory. Everywhere you turn inside that building, you are greeted by stories of Spain's dominance of the beautiful game. Every display had one element in common: the philosophies of Tiki-Taka and possession. Up on a board, I saw the tactics that won them the World Cup in 2010 and thought to myself, this is so outdated. The game has devolved, the space has disappeared. It made me wonder, how did Luis de la Fuente change this team from a slow, boring tiki-taka into the modern, lethal and dominant Spain that we see today? Why did it take Spain nearly a century to lift their first World Cup trophy, and can they do it again now, 16 years later? Let's get into it. Luis de la Fuente's appointment initially drew skepticism from the Spanish press, but the 64-year-old manager has silenced his critics by instilling a culture he simply calls family. His philosophy strips away ego and relies on deep-rooted trust because he managed a bunch of these players for the last 10 years as he was the manager of the Spanish youth team. Tactically, de la Fuente is also very interesting. He recognizes that possession without penetration is a vulnerability. His Spain team is designed to dominate the ball, regularly holding over 65% possession, but they do so with aggressive intent. If a vertical passing lane opens to the wingers within 3 seconds of regaining possession, his players are instructed to take it. This shift from patient circulation to rapid transition defines the modern Spanish identity. De la Fuente's base formation is a 4-3-3, which seamlessly morphs into a 4-2-3-1 depending on the opposition's defensive block. When facing high-pressing teams, Spain utilizes the 4-3-3 to create numerical superiorities, rondos, in the build-up phase. When breaking down deep, entrenched, low-blocking teams, the shape shifts into a 4-2-3-1, allowing an attacking midfielder, usually Olmo or Pedri, to operate as a secondary striker in the half spaces. In possession, this structure radically alters into a 3-2-5 or a 2-3-5. One fullback inverts into the midfield to sit alongside the holding midfielder, while the other pushes high up the flank, allowing the wingers to either stay wide or cut inside to overload the penalty area. The sweeper keepers, the first line of attack. In the Spanish football system, a goalkeeper is fundamentally a deep-lying playmaker. They are required to split open opposition lanes with precise mid-range passes and sweep high up to compress the defensive line behind the space. Spain are going to the World Cup with 3 goalkeepers. Let's take a look at them. Unai Simon, the undisputed first-choice goalkeeper. Simon's primary asset is his shot-stopping reflex and his bravery in claiming aerial crosses, which relieves pressure during defensive set pieces. Tactically, he is tasked with provoking the opponent's press. He also holds the ball under his boot until an opposing striker commits, instantly releasing a pass to the free man. David Raya. The Arsenal goalkeeper provides elite distribution. Raya is statistically superior with his feet, often acting as a third centre-back during the build-up phase. If Simon's form drops or Spain faces the team employing an extremely high press, Raya's ability to launch pinpoint 60-yard passes to the wingers becomes a lethal weapon. Joan Garcia, elite depth option. He offers incredible domestic experience and calmness, while he also represents the future generation of Spanish goalkeeping, because I think after this World Cup cycle, Unai Simon and probably David Raya, who are both in their 30s now, are going to be phased out, and Joan Garcia will become the next number 1. The centre-backs must be comfortable defending one-on-ones with 40 yards of space behind them. A requisite of being a Spanish national team defender is that you need to have elite ball-playing abilities. Aymeric Laporte. The veteran anchor, Laporte operates as the left-sided centre-back. His primary responsibility is breaking the first line of pressure with diagonal ground-level passes into the feet of the number 9, who will drop into the midfield or to leave it off to the wingers. His experience provides very vocal leadership and structural organization. Pau Cubarsi, the 19-year-old Barcelona phenom. Cubarsi's inclusion is like a proof of De La Fuente's trust in the youth in Spain. This might very well be his breakout tournament on the international stage, because he was not selected for the Euro 2024 and will be playing his first major tournament with Spain. Despite his young age, his spatial awareness and progressive carrying numbers are staggering. Cubarsi routinely steps into the midfield with the ball, forcing an opposing midfielder to step out and thus disrupting the enemy block. One last name I'd like to mention is Eric Garcia. He is a proper Swiss Army knife that you call. Garcia offers immaculate passing and familiarity with the Barcelona-style possessional play. And the thing about Eric Garcia is so good is that he can play anywhere in the back line and can also fill in for Rodri or Martin Zubimendi as a defensive midfielder. Now let's talk about the fullback. Spain utilizes an asymmetrical fullback system. While one tucks in to provide control in the midfield, the other provides aggressive runs down the flanks. Marc Cucurella. Operating on the left, Marc Cucurella is a tactical disruptor. Out of possession, he is the tenacious combative presser who rarely ever loses ground duels. In possession, he often tucks inside, inverting to sit next to Rodri, creating a double pivot that protects against central counter-attacks. Pedro Porro. With Dani Carvajal not going to the World Cup, Porro steps into the right-back role. He is heavily involved in the final third and is instructed to overlap outside of Lamine Yamal. His crossing ability from the byline and his willingness to shoot from the distance add a direct edge to the right flank. Alejandro Grimaldo. The ultimate attacking and playmaking weapon from the left. Grimaldo is utilized against deep defensive blocks where breaking down the flanks is required. His set-piece delivery and ability to whip in early crosses offer a distinct tactical pivot from Cucurella. Marc Pubill and Marcos Llorente, the Atletico Madrid duo. Pubill offers raw physical presence and touchline hugging width on the right. Llorente is the ultimate utility player, capable of playing right back, right wing, central midfield, anywhere on the pitch. His supreme athletic conditioning allows him to recover defensive transitions better than almost anyone in the squad. The midfield. This is the heart of La Roja. Usually you hear statements like defense wins you games, attack wins you titles, or the opposite. But for Spain, the midfield is where the magic happens. The midfield is where Spanish football tactics are born and executed, and De La Fuente relies on a strict distribution of labor. A singular pivot to anchor, a controller to dictate rhythm, and a penetrator to attack the box. Let's first talk about the pivots, the number 6. You can't talk about pivots and not talk about the best one in the world, Rodri. The most important player in the Spanish setup. Rodri dictates the game's tempo, averaging over 100 passes per game easily. Defensively, his positional intelligence allows him to extinguish counterattacks before they even materialize. Offensively, he switches the point of attack with sweeping diagonal balls to the wingers. Martin Zubimendi, the perfect understudy. Zubimendi plays with a slightly more reserved, structurally rigid style. He is a master of la pausa, the phenomena of holding onto the ball for an extra half second to draw defenders in before releasing it. Now let's talk about the controllers and the penetrators, the number 8s and the number 10s. Pedri, the connector, the magician, the spiritual successor to Andres Iniesta. Operating usually in the left half space, Pedri's spatial awareness is otherworldly. He receives the ball on the half turn and then instantly scans for the next pass. His role is to bridge the gap between the defensive pivot and the final third. Fabian Ruiz, the physical box-to-box presence. Ruiz offers late, undetected runs into the penalty area. When the wingers stretch the defense, Ruiz exploits the gaps left between the opposition's centre-backs and full-backs. Gavi. Gavi is back from injury. A bit controversial his inclusion was especially from Real Madrid fans, but he is the physical engine in the team. Returning, as I said, from injury, Gavi provides a relentless pressing and physical trigger. He operates higher up the pitch out of possession, harassing defenders and forcing turnovers in dangerous areas. Dani Olmo, the space invader, the Raumdeuter if you want to call him. Often deployed as a number 10 or a false winger, Olmo thrives between the lines. He is De La Fuente's primary tool for unlocking stubborn low blocks, using quick 1-2 combinations and rapid shooting mechanics. He also has a lethal long shot in his locker, so don't be surprised if you see Dani Olmo start taking shots from far away. And finally, Mikel Merino, the duel winner. Merino is brought on when games become chaotic or physical. His aerial prowess makes him a dual threat for winning long balls in midfield and also attacking crosses in the box. The attack. The most defining shift in De La Fuente's era is the reliance on traditional touchline-hugging wingers who excel in one-on-one isolation, moving away from the previous philosophy of fielding wide midfielders in those areas instead of traditional wingers. So when we talk about wingers, we of course have to talk about Lamine Yamal. The 18-year-old generational superstar operating on the right, Yamal stays glued to the touchline to receive the ball in isolation. Once engaged, he cuts inside onto his favored left foot. His ability to deliver in-swinging crosses or thread through balls to overlapping runners makes him unplayable in one-on-one situations. He draws double teams, sometimes triple teams, which naturally frees up space for the central midfielders to progress forward. Nico Williams, the vertical speedster on the left. Unlike Yamal, who prefers to cut inside to create, Williams is highly direct, looking to beat his man down the outside and drive into the penalty box. His raw pace forces opposition right backs to sit deeper, permanently altering the opponent's defensive line. Ferran Torres and Yeremy Pino, the rotational wide men. Torres is a master of off-the-ball movement, constantly making diagonal runs behind the defensive line. Pino offers technical trickery and operates kind of well in the tight, congested spaces. Now let's talk about the strikers. With the absence of Alvaro Morata, the striking dynamics have shifted entirely. Mikel Oyarzabal, the primary option. Oyarzabal operates as a deep-lying forward or a false nine. Instead of wrestling with centre-backs, he drops into the midfield, dragging a defender with him. This movement creates a vacuum in the center of the pitch, which the wingers, whether it's Yamal or Williams, and the attacking midfielders like Olmo or Ruiz, immediately sprint into. His finishing is clinical, but his connective play is his true value. Borja Iglesias, one of my favorite players in La Liga. Celta Vigo's Borja Iglesias, the panda, the traditional plan B. When intricate passing fails and Spain needs to bypass the midfield, Iglesias serves as a physical focal point. He pins centre-backs, acts as a target man for early crosses from Grimaldo or Porro, and thrives in chaotic penalty box scrambles. The build-up. To fully grasp Luis de la Fuente's tactics for the World Cup, we must analyze how the squad behaves across the 4 phases of a football match. Phase 1, build-up from the back. Spain utilizes a 2-4-4 or a 3-2-5 build-up structure. The centre-back split wide and the goalkeeper steps up to act as a third centre-back. Rodri drops deep to offer a central passing option while the fullbacks continue to push high. Spain boasts an average pass completion rate in their own third of over 92%, because the goal for them is not just to keep the ball but to bait the opposition into a high press. Once the opponent commits a vertical pass from Laporte or Cubarsi, bypasses the first line of pressure instantly. Phase 2, midfield progression. Once the ball crosses the halfway line, the focus shifts to finding the free man in the half space. Pedri and Ruiz look to position themselves behind the opponent's midfield line. If the central progression is blocked, Rodri recycles the ball and hits a sweeping switch of play to isolate Yamal or Williams against an unprotected fullback. Phase 3, final third creation. In the final third, Spain relies on the overlap-underlap dynamic. If Yamal has the ball on the right, Pedro Porro will make an overlapping run outside of him, dragging a defender away. Simultaneously, Pedri or Olmo will make an underlapping run into the penalty box. This forces the opposition into split-second decision-making, invariably leaving someone unmarked. Unlike the 2018 or 2002 campaigns when Spain tried to win matches by holding onto the ball and doing 1,000 passes, the 2026 version of Spain leads the tournament metrics in penalty area entries via wide channel dribbles. Final phase, the defensive transition and the high press. This is arguably Spain's most lethal weapon. When possession is lost, they do not retreat into a defensive structure. Instead, they execute something very akin to Jurgen Klopp's gegenpressing, a very aggressive counter press. The moment the ball is lost, the closest 3 Spanish players or 4 Spanish players sprint to swarm the ball carrier, attempting to win it back within 5 seconds. Someone like Gavi is going to be playing in matches because of moments like this. Cucurella and Zubimendi are also good at excelling in this phase. Spain operates with a PPDA, passes allowed per defensive action, of approximately 8.5 to 9. This indicates an incredibly fierce, suffocating high press. If the initial press is bypassed, the defense performs tactical fouls to stop the counter, in which Fabian Ruiz or Dani Olmo are very good at that, allowing the team to reset into a compact 4-1-4-1 mid-block. Another thing that Spain will probably have an advantage of is set pieces, because they are the marginal gains that can decide a game whether it's won or lost. De La Fuente has heavily invested in set-piece routines. Grimaldo and Baena provide elite in-swinging deliveries in offensive corners. Rather than aiming for a direct header, Spain uses something like a near-post flick-on routine where Merino or Laporte deflects the ball to the back post for an unmarked runner, often Rodri or Ruiz, to tap in. Now for defensive corners, Spain utilizes a mix of zonal marking and man-to-man coverage. Rodri defends the central zonal area while physical players marked the opposition's greatest aerial threats. So how does Spain's group look at the World Cup? After all of this, let's now take a look at how the World Cup shapes up for Spain. Drawn into Group H alongside Uruguay, Saudi Arabia and Cabo Verde, Spain faces a diverse set of tactical challenges early in the tournament. Uruguay will have their aggressive high pressing, which is a staple of teams under Marcelo Bielsa. A long distribution by the goalkeeper, preferably Raya, will be very useful in breaking down Uruguay. Saudi Arabia will play deep low blocks and focus on rapid counterattacks to beat Spanish press. Yamal and Williams will have to use their pace and flair to generate maximum width on the pitch in an attempt to bypass the Saudi Arabia low block. Cabo Verde is a very athletic, direct in transition team. Spain has to hold extreme possession and use their fullbacks, whether inverted or overlapping, to prevent counter-attacks. No matter what happens, the Spanish football team are going into the tournament as favorites. Luis de la Fuente has successfully fixed the Spanish team from a very slow, side-by-side, no energy passing team to a team that might not do 1,000 passes anymore per game, but they know how to move fast, how to move vertical, how to be good at transitions, and the results have shown. A Nations League, a Euro 2024 title, a runners-up in another Nations League, and now it's the big one, the FIFA World Cup. Luis de la Fuente, Spain, La Roja, yo, estamos listos. Estamos listos para ver a la España campeón del mundo. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to La Liga Vic. I will see you in the next one. Hasta luego.